everyone. As you know, my name is Elizabeth Neal, and we're going to talk today a little bit more about patient care documentation in athletic training. Again, I am a doctoral fellow at Indiana State University, and I'm really excited that we get to work through this EBP CEU home study together. As we begin today, I want to make sure that you know that I have no disclosures. I also have no conflicts of interest, and the views are my own. Additionally, the views are not necessarily the views of my colleagues or Indiana State University, and I challenge you to use the information that you are told in this continuing education unit at your own discretion. So as we begin today, I want to talk about some of the things that you'll be learning and some of the things that you'll be able to do. So as a result of this session, you'll be able to identify some common mistakes within your medical documentation. You'll be able to facilitate measures of quality improvement, specifically within athletic training for peers and athletic training students that you work with. And you'll be able to demonstrate knowledge of healthcare informatics, including medical documentation best practice. And so, as we continue to begin today, we want to start and first talk about what is medical documentation. So this is something that's vitally important for you as an athletic trainer and a preceptor to have a solid understanding of. But before we begin, I want to talk to you guys about why you should be here. So you're probably required to do this continuing education unit based on your program's requirements for being a preceptor. However, that shouldn't be the only reason that you're here. I oftentimes hear, I like to attend things that give me EBPCEUs because I need 10 of them every 2 years. But instead, we should be thinking about what we need to learn as athletic trainers and what areas of improvement should happen. And so rather than picking EBP courses that you know a lot in, why don't we challenge ourselves? And so I hope that today you are in that challenging moment of saying, hey, I am not entirely sure if what I am doing in medical documentation is best practice. And today is an awesome opportunity to get some more practice and be able to learn a little bit more about what is best practice within athletic training documentation. So let's take a moment before we begin and reflect. I want you to think about the last day that you gave clinical care. Was this at your secondary school, at your college or university, at a physician's practice you may work at, or in any other athletic training setting? Think back to the patients and who you saw. How many patients did you see that day? Did you document the patient care? If so, when did you document this patient care? Was it during? After? Maybe at the end of the day? The beginning of the next business day? When did this documentation occur? And I hope that as you take a moment to reflect, that you're able to keep this scenario in your head. And this is not a time to be judgmental. This is a time to recognize if there are mistakes and be able to continue to change those and to be able to come out ahead and be able to start what is best practice at this point. In August of 2017, the National Athletic Trainers Association put out the best practice guidelines for athletic training documentation. And you previously read through these before you began this module. As you could see within it, it didn't say, I have an ankle sprain, that needs to be documented. But rather it explained things such as like patient encounters, a change in patient status, and some other key terms that we're going to go over today that will be able to help you know how and what to be able to put in your medical documentation. This group of experts came from people in the secondary school, education, collegiate setting, and were experts in the field. And so this was something that I got to be part of the work group and was able to learn and bring this knowledge now to you guys as athletic trainers in the field. And so I want you to keep in mind that even though this isn't prescriptive, such as maybe physical therapists or occupational therapists, that doesn't mean it has to be a complete deterrent. There are still guidelines and they will be able to help you know what to document. And we'll also talk about that today so that you can hopefully leave this session with a lot of questions answered. Overall, I think in athletic training, we forget that patients' medical records involve so much more than we see. Typically, we may only have the small information of when a patient has seen us for those 3-4 years of if they're in a traditional collegiate or secondary school setting, or if they're in the physician's practice, maybe just what you saw this patient for. But we need to remember that overall in the records, we have things like communication forms, immunization, billing, a release to treat, various health authorizations and permission. And this is all to be able to help the patient, number one. And I think as we go through this today, keep that in the back of your head. Some of the information that I give to you today is going to be challenging. Some of it is going to stretch your comfort zone and maybe be things that you don't think are possible. So I challenge you to keep an open mind as we go through the various parts of what is best practice in athletic training documentation.